The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched high above the assembled representatives. 12 ancient species sat in their positions of power, looking down at the galaxy they had ruled for 3,000 years. The air hummed with translators working to convert dozens of alien languages into something everyone could understand. Admiral Kyung-ho of the Valterian Empire stood at the center of the chamber. His blue skin gleamed under the bright lights as he activated the holographic display. Images of star systems appeared in the air above him, rotating slowly for all to see. "Honored council members," Kyung-ho began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "I bring disturbing news from the Outer Rim territories. A species calling themselves humans has been expanding without our permission." Several council members shifted in their seats. The insectoid representative, Counselor Reika, clicked her mandibles together in annoyance. "Another primitive species thinks they can ignore our authority? How tiresome." The hologram zoomed in on a small yellow star. "This is their home system," Kyung-ho continued. "They call it Sol. Our scouts report that these humans have established colonies on multiple worlds within their system. More concerning, they have begun sending ships to nearby star systems." An ancient council member from the ethereal collective floated forward. His translucent form pulsed with faint light as he spoke. "How long have we known about this species?" "Approximately 50 standard years, Honored One. They achieved faster-than-light travel 47 years ago. Since then, they have shown remarkable expansion for such a young species." Counselor Reika's compound eyes gleamed. "Remarkable expansion without permission, you mean? They have not requested entry into our domain. They have not paid tribute. They act as if our laws do not apply to them." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The council had dealt with upstart species before. Young civilizations often needed to learn their place in the galactic order. It was always the same pattern: initial defiance followed by submission once they understood the true power of the council. "What do we know of their military capabilities?" asked another council member, this one resembling a massive bear with 6 arms. Kyung-ho manipulated the hologram to show crude spacecraft designs. "Their technology appears to be several centuries behind our own. Simple fusion drives, basic energy weapons, primitive armor plating. Our intelligence suggests they have perhaps 200 vessels total, mostly used for cargo transport and system patrol." Laughter echoed through the chamber. 200 ships against the might of the Galactic Council? It was almost insulting that such a minor threat required their attention. "Perhaps we should simply ignore them," suggested a crystalline being whose voice rang like chimes. "In a few hundred years, they will either destroy themselves or come begging for our guidance." But Counselor Reika was not satisfied. Her species had built an empire through swift action and decisive force. "No. Every species that defies our authority encourages others to do the same. We must act quickly and decisively. These humans need to learn their place." Admiral Kyung-ho nodded. "I agree with the counselor. We recommend sending a standard subjugation fleet to the Sol system. A show of force should be sufficient to bring them into compliance." The vote was swift and unanimous. Fleet Commander Do-won would lead the 47th Subjugation Fleet to human space. 200 warships would demonstrate the folly of defying Council authority. The humans would surrender, pay tribute, and accept their place as a minor member species of the galactic community. But far away on a blue-green world called Earth, different preparations were taking place. Defense Minister Bora stood in the war room deep beneath the capital city. Banks of screens showed star charts, fleet positions, and communication channels that stretched across the galaxy. Her staff worked quietly at their stations, monitoring signals that most species believed were impossible to intercept. "Minister," called out a young officer, "long-range sensors are detecting movement in the Valterian fleet yards. It looks like they're assembling a task force." Bora walked to the main display screen. Her face remained calm, but inside she felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. This was the moment they had been preparing for since humanity first learned they were not alone in the universe. "How many ships?" she asked. "Approximately 200 vessels, military configuration. Standard Council subjugation fleet by all appearances." Bora nodded. She had studied Council tactics for decades. Their response was exactly what humanity's war planners had predicted. The Council's arrogance would be their weakness, just as it had been for every species they had conquered. "Signal all department heads," she ordered. "Tell them it's time for Protocol 7. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden facilities came alive. On the moon's dark side, Massive doors slid open to reveal construction yards that officially did not exist. In the asteroid belt, mining stations powered up weapons systems that had been disguised as industrial equipment for decades. On Mars, Admiral Hye-Jin received the signal she had been waiting for her entire career. Protocol 7 was humanity's greatest secret. For 50 years, while the galaxy believed humans were contained to their home system, they had been expanding in secret. Advanced stealth technology developed in hidden laboratories kept their true activities invisible to alien sensors. Carefully planted intelligence agents fed false information to Council scouts. The Council believed they faced a primitive species with 200 ships. They had no idea that humanity's true fleet numbered in the thousands. They did not know that human colonies existed in dozens of star systems across the galaxy. They could not imagine that their own communication networks had been infiltrated and monitored for decades. Minister Bo-Ra looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Council fleet. In 6 days, they would arrive at the edge of the Sol system expecting to find helpless primitives. Instead, they would discover that humanity had been playing a much deeper game. She picked up the secure communication device that connected her directly to human assets, scattered across the galaxy. Agents who had spent years pretending to be traders, refugees, and diplomats. Military officers who had infiltrated alien organizations. Scientists who had been stealing technology while pretending to be primitive researchers. All stations, this is Terra Command. She spoke into the device. The Council has taken the bait. Execute Phase 1 of Operation Revelation. Show them what humanity really looks like. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to be revealed. The Council thought they were sending a fleet to subdue another primitive species. They had no idea they were walking into a trap that had been 50 years in the making. In the depths of space, Fleet Commander Do-Won's ships moved toward the Sol system, confident in their superiority and certain of their victory. Behind them, the Council waited for news of another successful subjugation. None of them suspected that the galaxy was about to change forever. Fleet Commander Do-Won stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Justice. Through the massive view screen, he could see the yellow star that the humans called Sol, growing larger as his fleet approached. 200 of the Council's finest warships moved in perfect formation behind him. "Sir," called Captain Tae-Jin from the sensor station, "we're detecting something unusual in this system." Do-Won frowned. His intelligence reports had been very clear. The humans were a primitive species with basic technology. Their home system should show nothing more than a few small colonies and patrol vessels. "What kind of unusual?" Do-Won asked. Tae-Jin's hands danced over his controls, trying to make sense of the readings. "There are massive energy signatures throughout the system. Orbital platforms around every major planet and moon. These readings suggest military installations, but that's impossible. The intelligence report said these humans barely have spaceflight capability." Do-Won walked to the sensor display. What he saw made his stomach tighten with worry. The readings showed defensive installations that would make even Council core worlds envious. Whoever had written their intelligence reports had made a serious mistake. "Open a channel to all ships," Do-Won ordered. "Have them run full sensor sweeps. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." But before his fleet could complete their scans, something happened that made Do-Won's blood run cold. A communication signal reached his ship, broadcast on Council military frequencies that no primitive species should know existed. The voice that spoke was clear and confident. "Using perfect galactic standard, Council Fleet 47, you are trespassing in sovereign human space. This is Admiral Hye-Jin of the Sol Defense Force. You have 30 minutes to withdraw before we consider your presence an act of war." The bridge fell silent. Do-Won stared at the communication panel in shock. How did these humans know his fleet's designation? How did they speak galactic standard? And who was this Admiral Hye-Jin who spoke as if she had the power to threaten a Council fleet? "Sir," Tae-Jin whispered, "the energy readings are increasing. Whatever those platforms are, they're powering up." On Mars, Admiral Hye-Jin watched the alien fleet hesitate at the edge of the solar system. She had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, studying Council tactics and building the defenses that now protected humanity's home. "Status report," she called out. "All orbital platforms are at full power," reported her tactical officer. "Luna base reports ready. Asteroid belt installations are armed and standing by. Earth's planetary defense grid is online." Hye-Jin nodded. The Council fleet had no idea what they were facing. While they believed humans were primitive, Humanity had been building the most advanced defense network in the galaxy. "Any response from the alien fleet?" she asked. "No, sir. They're maintaining position at the system edge. Long-range sensors show they're running detailed scans." "Let them scan," He-Jin smiled grimly. "In fact, help them see what they're up against. Lower the stealth fields on the outer perimeter." Across the solar system, hundreds of previously invisible installations suddenly appeared on sensors. Weapons platforms hidden in asteroid belts powered up their targeting systems. Defense stations orbiting the gas giants revealed themselves to enemy scanners. On the Eternal Justice, Captain Taejin's face went pale as his sensors registered the new contacts. "Sir, we're detecting massive installations throughout the system. Weapons platforms, shield generators, what appears to be a complete defensive network." Do-won felt his confidence crumbling. This was not the primitive system described in his briefings. These humans had military technology that matched or exceeded Council standards. But how was that possible? His questions were answered when his communication officer intercepted a transmission between human facilities. The message was in code, but Council translation computers broke it quickly. What Do-won learned made him realize just how badly the Council had underestimated these humans. The humans had been lying about their capabilities for decades. While Council scouts reported a primitive species confined to one star system, humanity had actually been expanding throughout the galaxy. They had developed advanced stealth technology that made their ships and installations invisible to Council sensors. More disturbing, the intercepted messages revealed that human agents had infiltrated Council space. For 50 years, while the Council believed they were monitoring humanity, human spies had been watching them. Every Council military base, every trade route, every government facility had been mapped and studied. "Get me a secure channel to Council command," Do-won ordered. "Priority 1 emergency." But before he could send his message, Admiral Hai-Jin's voice came over the communication system again. This time her tone was harder. "Fleet Commander Do-won, your 30 minutes are up. You have refused our lawful order to withdraw from human space. This system is now under defensive protocols." Do-won's eyes widened. How did she know his name? Council fleet commanders were classified information, known only to the highest levels of government. His answer came when his intelligence officer, Chief Min-ho, approached with a data pad. "Sir, I've been analyzing the intercepted human communications. They know everything about us. Ship names, crew manifests, our operational history. They even know about our mission orders." The implications hit Do-won like a physical blow. Humanity's intelligence network was far more advanced than anyone had imagined. They had been watching the Council for decades, learning their weaknesses and preparing for this confrontation. "Sir," Taejin called out urgently. Massive energy spike detected throughout the system. "All human installations are charging weapons." Do-won looked at the tactical display. His 200 ships were outnumbered by the fixed defenses alone. But that wasn't the worst part. The intercepted communications suggested that the Sol system's defenses were just the beginning of humanity's true military capability. Then Admiral Hai-Jin spoke again, and her words changed everything. "Fleet Commander, you seem surprised by what you've found here. Let me help you understand the situation. You're not facing a primitive species that just discovered spaceflight. You're facing a civilization that has been preparing for this meeting for 50 years. She paused, letting her words sink in. "Since you refuse to leave peacefully, we'll show you what humanity really looks like. All stations, this is Admiral Hai-Jin. Drop all stealth fields. Let our guests see the true scope of human space." Across the solar system, advanced cloaking technology deactivated. Thousands of previously invisible spacecraft materialized around Do-won's fleet. Not the 200 primitive vessels described in Council intelligence reports, but a massive armada that dwarfed anything the Council had seen from a single species. Do-won's tactical officer began counting contacts, but stopped when the numbers became meaningless. They were completely surrounded by ships that appeared to use technology equal to or better than Council standards. "This is impossible," Do-won whispered. "Our intelligence said they had barely 200 ships total." "Your intelligence was wrong," came Admiral Hai-Jin's voice. "Those were just the ships we allowed you to see. The rest of humanity's fleet has been hidden, waiting for this moment." As if to prove her point, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Human sleeper agents in Council space were revealing themselves. Facilities thought to be civilian installations were powering up military-grade weapons. Mining operations were unveiling themselves as forward military bases. Duwan realized with growing horror that humanity had not just been hiding their expansion. They had been systematically infiltrating and mapping the entire Council domain. Every major installation, every strategic resource, every military base had human assets in position. The Council had believed they were dealing with primitives. Instead, they had walked into a trap that had been decades in the making. Fleet Commander, Admiral Hyjin's voice came again. I suggest you contact your superiors. Tell them the age of Council dominance is over. Humanity is ready to discuss new terms for galactic governance. Fleet Admiral Sung Ho stood on the bridge of the human flagship Indomitable, watching as thousands of ships materialized throughout the Sol system. For 50 years, these vessels had remained hidden behind advanced stealth technology. Now they revealed themselves in their full glory, surrounding the Council fleet like predators circling wounded prey. Status report, Sung Ho called out. All stealth fields are down, his tactical officer replied. We're showing them everything. Defense platforms, mobile fleets, orbital installations. Total human vessels in system, 3,247. Sung Ho nodded with satisfaction. The Council fleet's 200 ships looked pathetic compared to humanity's true strength. But this was just the beginning of the revelation that would shake the galaxy to its core. Communications. Put me through to Admiral Hyjin on Mars Command. Channel open. Sir Simral, execute Phase 2 of Operation Revelation. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has really been doing for the past 50 years. Across human space, sleeper agents who had spent decades building false identities suddenly revealed their true purpose. On the Council capital world of Nexus Prime, a humble merchant named Colonel Ji-hoon activated a hidden transmitter in his shop. The signal he sent would change galactic history forever. The shop's walls slid away, revealing advanced communication equipment that had been disguised as ordinary storage. Within minutes, Ji-hoon was in contact with human assets scattered across the planet and throughout Council space. This is Colonel Ji-hoon to all Nexus Prime assets, he broadcast on encrypted channels. Operation Revelation is active. Reveal positions and secure designated targets. Throughout the capital city, ordinary-looking buildings suddenly sprouted communication arrays and defensive weapons. Humans who had lived quietly as refugees, traders, and workers revealed themselves as highly trained military operatives. In the space docks above the planet, cargo ships that had been delivering supplies for years powered up military-grade weapon systems. The transformation was happening simultaneously across dozens of Council worlds. On the industrial planet of Kithara, a mining operation run by humans for 20 years revealed itself as a forward military base. The primitive equipment they had been using was actually advanced human technology disguised to look inferior. Director So Young of Human Intelligence sat in her hidden command center beneath the lunar surface, coordinating the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. Screens around her showed the activation of human assets across known space. Asset groups Alpha through Zeta, report ready, her communications officer announced. All major Council installations are within range of human assets. Military targets? So Young asked. 17 Council fleet bases now have human operatives in position. Weapons platforms, shield generators, and communication hubs are all accessible to our people. So Young smiled grimly. For 50 years, humanity had been playing a game the Council never even knew existed. While the ancient species focused on their perceived superiority, humans had been systematically infiltrating every aspect of galactic civilization. The strategy had been simple, but brilliant. Let the Council believe humans were primitive and contained to their home system. Meanwhile, send carefully trained agents throughout the galaxy to study alien technology, map military installations, and position themselves for this moment. On Nexus Prime, the Council leadership was beginning to understand the scope of humanity's deception. Emergency alarms blared through the government complex as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. High Counselor Wu Jin of the Ethereal Collective materialized in the emergency session chamber, his translucent form pulsing with agitation. Report, what is happening? Strategic Advisor Haewon's face was pale as she read from multiple data screens. Human assets are revealing themselves across 17 sectors. Military installations we thought were secure are reporting human presence. Our communication networks are being monitored by human intelligence. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Reika. Our scouts have been watching them for 50 years. Our scouts have been watching what the humans wanted them to see, Heywan replied grimly. According to these reports, human agents have been feeding us false information for decades. Every intelligence report about human capabilities has been deliberately falsified. The chamber erupted in angry voices as council members realized the extent of their failure. They had been so confident in their superiority that they never considered the possibility of being deceived by a supposedly primitive species. Then the lights dimmed, and a holographic figure appeared in the center of the chamber. It was a human woman in military uniform, her image crystal clear despite being transmitted across thousands of light years. "Honored council members," the woman said in perfect galactic standard, "I am Ambassador Daun of the United Human Colonial Government. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but recent events require immediate attention." Security guards rushed toward the hologram, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the projection. The human technology creating this image was far more advanced than anything in the council chambers. "You are in our most secure facility," High Counselor Wu Jin sputtered. "How are you transmitting here?" Ambassador Daun smiled calmly. "We've been monitoring your communication systems for decades. Accessing your chambers was simply a matter of using the backdoors our technicians installed in your networks years ago." The implications were staggering. If humans could project holograms into the Council's most secure location, nowhere in the galaxy was beyond their reach. "What do you want?" Counselor Reika demanded. "To offer you a choice," Daun replied. "For 3,000 years the Council has ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology. That age is ending. Humanity offers a new path forward. Peaceful coexistence under a reformed galactic government." "And if we refuse?" asked another council member. Daun's expression grew serious. "Then you will face total war with a species that has spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Your fleets are scattered across the galaxy, trying to maintain control over hundreds of worlds. Our forces are concentrated and ready. Your communication networks are compromised. Your military installations have human assets in position to strike." To emphasize her point, reports began arriving from across Council space. Human ships were appearing in orbit around every major Council world. Not invasion fleets, but demonstration forces showing that humanity could strike anywhere, anytime. Minister of War Dong Ho burst into the chamber with a datapad full of tactical reports. "The humans have assets everywhere. Our naval base at Kepler Station reports human operatives in their command center. The shipyards at Proxima have been infiltrated. Even our intelligence headquarters on Vega Prime has human agents inside." The council members stared at the reports in growing horror. Every assumption they had made about human capabilities was wrong. Every strategic advantage they thought they possessed had been neutralized through superior intelligence work and decades of patient preparation. "Ambassador," Daun continued speaking as if the interruption had not occurred. "We could have struck without warning. We could have crippled your fleets and conquered your worlds before you knew what was happening. Instead, we chose to reveal ourselves and offer terms." "What terms?" High Counselor Wu Jin asked weakly. "Dissolution of the current council structure, formation of a new galactic government with equal representation for all species, an end to the tributary system that keeps younger civilizations in subjugation. Humanity will provide leadership during the transition, but the goal is true cooperation, not domination." The chamber fell silent as the council members absorbed the magnitude of the change being proposed. Everything they had known, everything they had built, was being swept away by a species they had dismissed as primitives. Counselor Youngie of the Harmony Seekers was the first to speak. "You're offering us partnership instead of conquest?" "We're offering you the chance to be part of something better," Daun replied. "The galaxy is vast enough for all of us to prosper, but the age of one species ruling over all others is finished." As if to underscore her words, Fleet Admiral Seung-ho's voice came over the communication system. "Council Fleet 47 has surrendered and requested safe passage home. All human assets across the galaxy report mission ready. The old order is ended." The council chambers had never seen chaos like this. Ancient species that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years now faced the collapse of everything they had built. Emergency sessions ran day and night as reports poured in from across their domain. High Counselor Wu Jin floated above the assembly, his ethereal form flickering with stress. "Order, we must have order." But his words were lost in the angry voices of council members trying to understand how they had been so completely outmaneuvered. Strategic Advisor Hai Wan stood at the central display, pointing to star charts that showed the true scope of human infiltration. Red markers indicated confirmed human assets, and there were so many that entire sectors appeared to be bleeding. "The situation is worse than we initially thought," she announced, her voice cutting through the noise. "Human agents have been inside our government, our military, our trade networks, and our intelligence services for decades. They know our fleet positions, our defensive capabilities, our political weaknesses, and our economic resources." Counselor Reika's mandibles clicked together rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. "How did our intelligence services fail so completely? We have the most advanced surveillance network in the galaxy." "Because we were watching what they wanted us to see," replied Minister of War Dong Ho grimly. He had spent the last 3 days reviewing decades of intelligence reports, and the pattern was clear. Every scout ship, every probe, every surveillance satellite was being fed false information. The humans created an elaborate fiction of being primitive and contained to their home system. The massive display showed images of what Council scouts had been reporting for 50 years. Crude spacecraft, simple colonies, basic technology. Then it switched to what human space actually looked like. Vast fleets of advanced warships, orbital cities that dwarfed Council stations, and technology that in some cases exceeded Council standards. "They made us see what we expected to see," Haywan continued. "We believed we were superior, so when we looked at humanity, we saw primitives. Our own arrogance blinded us to the truth." High Counselor Wu Jun's form pulsed with anger. "Then we fight! We call back our fleets, we mobilize our forces. We show these humans what 3,000 years of dominance really means." But Minister Dong Ho shook his head sadly. "With what forces? Our fleets are scattered across hundreds of systems, maintaining order among our subject species. The humans chose their timing perfectly. Most of our major battle groups are weeks away from home territories." He activated another display showing Council fleet positions. The first fleet is suppressing rebellions in the Outer Rim. The second and third fleets are protecting trade routes in the core worlds. The fourth fleet is conducting training exercises in the neutral zone. None of them can return quickly enough to matter. "What about our home defense forces?" demanded another Council member. Dong Ho's expression grew even grimmer. "Compromised. We've confirmed human assets in every major military installation. They could cripple our defenses before our fleets could engage their ships." The truth was becoming clear to even the most stubborn Council members. Humanity had not just outmaneuvered them tactically, they had outplayed them strategically across decades of careful planning. Ambassador Dawoon's hologram flickered back to life in the center of the chamber. The human woman looked as calm and composed as she had during their first contact, showing no sign of stress despite orchestrating the downfall of the galactic government. "Honored Council members," she said, "I see you're beginning to understand your situation. Before you make any decisions about your response, I think you should see the full scope of what you're facing." The chamber's displays changed to show human ships in orbit around every Council core world. These weren't invasion fleets, they were demonstration forces, showing that humanity could strike anywhere in the galaxy. "Your capital world of Nexus Prime has 12 human vessels in orbit," Dayun reported matter-of-factly. "The industrial centers of Kithara and Valtros have human ships positioned at their shipyards. Your military academy on Rigel is currently being watched by a human battlecruiser." She paused to let the information sink in. "We could have destroyed your infrastructure and crippled your government before you even knew we existed. Instead, we chose to reveal ourselves and offer terms." Counselor Young A of the Harmony Seekers leaned forward. "Why? If you have such overwhelming advantages, why negotiate at all?" "Because destruction serves no one," Dawoon replied. "The galaxy is large enough for all of us to prosper. Humanity doesn't want to rule through fear and oppression. We want to build something better." "Better for whom?" Counselor Reika demanded. "You're asking us to give up 3 millennia of careful governance." "I'm asking you to give up 3 millennia of domination over species you consider inferior," Dayun corrected. "How many civilizations has the Council conquered? How many species have been forced into tributary status? How many promising young races have been crushed before they could reach their potential?" The questions hung in the air like accusations. The Council had always justified their actions as bringing order and civilization to the galaxy. But viewed from humanity's perspective, Their rule looked more like systematic oppression. Director So Young's voice came through the communication system from her command center on Luna. Council members, we're transmitting detailed files on our intelligence operations. You'll see exactly how extensively we've infiltrated your domain. Data began flowing across the chamber's screens. Personnel files on human agents who had worked in council facilities for years. Technical specifications for surveillance equipment that had been monitoring council communications. Financial records showing how human trading companies had been funding intelligence operations. The scope was breathtaking. Humanity had built an intelligence network that penetrated every aspect of council civilization. They knew which council members were corrupt, which military officers were incompetent, which trade routes were vulnerable, and which planets were ready to rebel. "This is impossible," whispered High Counselor Wu Jin. "No species could maintain such an operation for so long without being detected." "No species operating alone could," Daun agreed. "But humanity had advantages you never considered. We're adaptable, we learn quickly, and we're very good at appearing harmless while we gather information." She gestured, and the display showed images of human agents throughout the galaxy. They looked like ordinary refugees, traders, researchers, and workers. Nothing about them suggested they were highly trained intelligence operatives. "Your species make assumptions based on appearance and behavior," Daun continued. "When you saw humans acting like simple merchants or curious scientists, you believed that's all we were. You never looked deeper because we didn't fit your idea of a threat." Minister Dongho studied the intelligence files with growing amazement. "Some of these agents have been in place for 30 years or more. How did you maintain their cover for so long?" "Patience," Daun replied simply. "Something humanity has learned to value highly. We were willing to wait decades for the right moment. Your species focus on immediate power and quick dominance. That made you predictable." The chamber fell silent as the council members absorbed the magnitude of their defeat. They had been outthought, outplanned, and outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitives. Finally, Counselor Young-A spoke again. "What exactly are your terms?" Dadyun's expression became more formal. "Dissolution of the current council structure. Formation of a new galactic government with equal representation for all species. An end to the tributary system. Gradual independence for species currently under council control. And establishment of humanity as the senior partner in galactic affairs during the transition period." "And if we refuse?" asked High Counselor Wu Jin. Dayun's smile was cold. "Then you'll face the full might of a species that has spent 50 years preparing for war with you. Your fleets will be destroyed, your worlds will be occupied, and your government will be dismantled by force." The choice was clear. Accept humanity's terms and retain some dignity, or resist and face total destruction. The age of council dominance was over. The only question was whether it would end with negotiation or conquest. 6 months had passed since the Treaty of Sol changed the galaxy forever. President Insu of the United Human Colonial Government stood at the podium in the new Galactic Assembly building on Earth, looking out at representatives from over 200 species. The chamber was larger than the old council halls, designed to accommodate equals rather than rulers and subjects. "Fellow citizens of the galaxy," Insu began, his words translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "Today marks 6 months since we chose cooperation over conquest, partnership over domination. The results speak for themselves. The great display screens around the chamber showed star charts of the galaxy's current state. Trade routes that had been restricted to council species were now open to all. Colonies that had been forced to pay tribute were developing their own economies. Young civilizations that had lived in fear of subjugation were now free to grow and explore. The Rigelian Confederation has established 3 new colonies in the past 4 months," Insu continued. "The Altarian Republic has developed new agricultural techniques that have increased food production by 40%. The Centauri Alliance has launched their first deep space exploration mission. These were species that had been held back by council policies for centuries. Under the new system, they were flourishing in ways the old regime had never allowed. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Admiral Kyung-Soo of the former Valtirian Empire sat in his secret base in the Outer Rim, surrounded by the remnants of the old order. Ships from a dozen species loyal to the council had gathered here, planning what they called the Restoration. The humans cannot maintain control forever. Kyung-soo declared to his assembled commanders. They are stretched thin across the galaxy, trying to manage hundreds of worlds and species. We strike fast and hard at their key installations, and their new order will crumble. His plan was ambitious: simultaneous attacks on human command centers, communication hubs, and supply depots across 50 systems. If successful, it would cripple humanity's ability to coordinate their galactic government and might inspire other resistance movements. Intelligence reports indicate the humans have only light defenses at most locations, reported his tactical officer. They seem to be relying more on cooperation than force to maintain order. Kyung-soo smiled grimly. Their weakness will be their downfall. The galaxy understands strength, not this naive idealism about equality and cooperation. But Kyung-soo's confidence was about to be shattered. In the command center of the Galactic Security Council, Director Hyo-jin watched real-time surveillance of the rebel fleet. The new security organization was jointly operated by humans and reformed council species. But humanity still maintained the intelligence advantage they had built over decades. They think we don't know about their base, Hyo-jin told her staff. They think we're depending on cooperation because we're weak. They're about to learn why that assumption is dangerous. The truth was that humanity had been monitoring Kyung-soo's rebellion since it began. Every communication, every supply shipment, every recruitment effort had been tracked and recorded. The rebels had no idea they were walking into a trap. All units, this is Director Hyo-jin, she broadcast on secure channels. Operation Clear Skies is authorized. Show our rebellious friends what happens when they mistake restraint for weakness. Across the galaxy, human forces that had remained hidden suddenly revealed themselves. The rebel fleet attacking the communications hub at Vega found themselves facing not the lightly defended installation they expected, but a full battle group of human warships that had been waiting in stealth. Kyung-soo's own attack on the supply depot at Kepler Station met with similar results. His ships dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find cargo vessels and defensive platforms. Instead, they faced Admiral Yoonji's task force, which had been monitoring the depot from within an asteroid field. This is Admiral Yoonji to all rebel vessels, came the calm voice over their communication systems. You are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded or we will open fire. Within 6 hours, the entire rebellion was crushed. Kyung-soo's fleet surrendered after realizing they were outnumbered 3-1 at every target. The other rebel groups quickly followed suit when they learned their secret operations had been under surveillance from the beginning. President In-soo addressed the Galactic Assembly the next day, his tone more serious than usual. Yesterday's events demonstrate why the old system failed, he told the gathered representatives. The rebels believed that force and deception were the only tools of government. They could not imagine that we knew about their plans because they could not imagine a government based on transparency and cooperation. He gestured to the display screens, which showed footage of the rebel fleets surrendering without a major battle. We did not crush this rebellion through superior firepower, though we certainly possessed it. We defeated it through superior information, gained through the cooperation of hundreds of species who chose to be part of the new order rather than fight against it. The truth was that many of the intelligence reports about rebel activities had come from former council, species who supported the new system. The Harmony Seekers had provided information about rebel recruitment efforts. The Centauri Alliance had reported suspicious ship movements. Even some Valterian officers had chosen loyalty to the new government over loyalty to their former empire. This is what real strength looks like, In-soo continued. Not the power to destroy, but the power to build. Not the ability to conquer, but the ability to inspire cooperation. 6 months later, Captain Yoonji stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon, leading the largest deep space mission in galactic history. Her crew included representatives from 30 different species, working together to investigate mysterious signals from beyond the galactic rim. Captain, called her science officer, a former council researcher who had enthusiastically joined the human exploration program. We're detecting structured transmissions from the next star system. It might be another civilization. Yoonji nodded thoughtfully. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy was looking outward instead of inward. Instead of fighting over existing territory, the combined species were working together to explore new frontiers. Set course for the signal source, she ordered. Let's see who our new neighbors might be. Back on Earth, a memorial stood at the site where Fleet Commander Dowan had first surrendered to human forces. The inscription read, "Here ended the age of empires and began the era of equals." But those who understood the true scope of humanity's achievement knew that the memorial told only part of the story. Yes, the age of empires had ended, but it had been replaced not just by equality, but by something far more powerful. The first truly cooperative galactic civilization in known history. The galaxy had trembled when humanity's true strength was revealed. But what made the old powers tremble was not humanity's ships or weapons or technology. It was humanity's vision of what the galaxy could become when species worked together, instead of against each other. The Council had ruled through fear and superiority for 3,000 years. Humanity had achieved galactic dominance in 50 years through patience, intelligence, and the revolutionary idea that cooperation was stronger than conquest. As the New Horizon jumped to hyperspace, carrying the hopes and dreams of hundreds of species toward the unknown, one truth was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. The Empire had trembled, fallen, and been replaced by something far greater than any single species had ever imagined possible. The age of human leadership had begun, but more importantly, the age of galactic unity had finally arrived, and in the vast darkness between the stars, new possibilities waited to be discovered by a civilization that had learned the greatest truth of all: that strength shared was infinitely more powerful than strength hoarded.